At exactly 3:17 a.m., I heard the scraping. Not from outside, no, it came from beneath my feet. The basement floor shuddered, and then I saw it, a trapdoor I swear wasn't there before. My flashlight flickered as I pulled it open, and a gust of freezing air hit my face. Something ancient was breathing down there. And it knew I was coming.
They say nothing good happens after midnight, but I never really believed it until I took a job as a nighttime security driver for a rural logistics firm out in the Carolinas, right along Highway 17. It was supposed to be simple: drive a loaded van from warehouse A to warehouse B, no stops, no questions, just me, the open road, and a few £100 of electronics in the back. I needed the cash after getting laid off from my day job, and they were offering good money, almost too good, now that I think about it. My girlfriend Emily had a bad feeling about it from the start, said there was something weird about the contract, how they insisted I never veer off the route, how my phone had to stay off once I left the warehouse. It's just corporate paranoia, I told her, trying to play it cool even though a small part of me agreed. The job started out fine the first few nights, just dark stretches of pine forest, the hum of my wheels, and the occasional semi roaring past. But by night 4, things changed. I saw something or someone standing at mile marker 237, right by the old, crumbling billboard for a diner that burned down years ago. He was just standing there, tall, still, dressed in something that looked like it didn't belong in this decade. I slowed down, heart picking up, thinking maybe it was a stranded driver or some homeless guy looking for help, but the moment my headlights hit him, he turned away from the road and vanished into the woods in a single, unnatural motion, like he didn't walk so much as melt into the trees. I chalked it up to fatigue, kept driving, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When I got to the next checkpoint, the dock worker looked at me kind of funny, asked if I was new on the route. I told him I was, and he nodded slowly, like that explains something. "Just don't stop, no matter what," he said before slamming the bay doors shut behind my van. I wish I'd listened better. Because the next night, things got worse. Much worse. I should have quit. I should have called it right then and there, told them to keep their money, told Emily she was right, but something about that road had its grip on me. Maybe it was pride, or maybe I just didn't want to admit I was scared, but I showed up the next night like nothing had happened, even though my stomach was already twisted in knots before I turned the key. The sky was darker than usual, the air thicker, and every sound felt amplified, like the world had gone silent just to let me hear the wrong things louder. I was only 15 miles into the route when my headlights flickered, not just dimmed, but blinked out completely for a second, and I swore I saw that same figure in the middle of the road. I braked hard, skidding across the asphalt, the tires screaming as I nearly jackknifed the whole van. But when the light snapped back on, the road was empty, not even a footprint in the mist that was starting to roll in. I sat there breathing hard, hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. That's when I heard it scratching. Not from the outside, but from behind me. Inside the van. My blood turned cold. I wasn't supposed to open the back company policy, but there was no way I was driving another 60 miles with something moving around back there. I pulled over, grabbed the crowbar from under my seat, and crept around to the rear doors. My breath came out in shaky clouds as I unlocked them. The moment I pulled them open, I was hit with a gust of hot air that smelled like old earth and metal. The cargo was still there, wrapped tight in plastic wrap and strapped down, no signs of tampering, but there was something off about the air inside, like the space was breathing. I didn't see anything at first. But then, just before I shut the doors again, I noticed it something scrawled on the inside wall of the van, written in what looked like grease or ash. It said, "You stopped." I slammed the doors shut, hard hammering, and got back in the van. I didn't care what company rules said anymore, I wasn't stopping again. But the road wasn't done with me. Somewhere near mile marker 241, my radio, which had been off all night, crackled to life, and a voice I didn't recognize whispered, "Keep driving, he's getting closer." That was the exact moment the temperature dropped. I could see my breath inside the cab. My fingers went numb on the wheel, and in the rearview mirror, I saw the shape again, but this time it wasn't standing by the road, it was behind the van, running, faster than any human should. It didn't have a face, not really, just a stretched blur of shadow and eyes that burned like coals. No matter how fast I went, it kept up. I nearly tore the wheel trying to stay on the road. Every curve felt like it was pulling me into a deeper darkness. I thought maybe if I reached the next checkpoint, maybe the lights there, the people, would break whatever was happening. But when I arrived, the checkpoint was gone. Just gone. Where the warehouse had been was now an empty lot, overgrown and abandoned, the building erased like it had never existed. And then my van stopped. The engine just died. I was alone, surrounded by trees, my breath fogging the air, and I could feel him, whatever it was, getting closer, slow steps on gravel behind me. That was when the knocking started, from inside the van again, except this time, it wasn't scratching. It was banging. Something wanted out. Or maybe it wanted in. The banging wouldn't stop. It pounded like fists from hell, shaking the entire van, and I could feel it vibrating through my chest, through my teeth, like it was trying to rattle me apart from the inside. I backed away slowly, not even breathing, watching the back doors pulse with every hit. The sky above had turned the color of bruises, moonlight smothered by something thick and wrong, and the trees around me leaned in like they were listening, like they were part of it. I knew I couldn't just run. Where would I go? My phone was dead, the GPS frozen on a blank screen, no service, no roads showing, just a void. I turned back to the van, and the banging stopped. Dead silence. That's what made it worse. I waited. Nothing. Then the door latch clicked from the inside. I swear on my life it did. Click. A slow, deliberate sound like someone unlatching it with careful fingers. I screamed and ran, bolting down the highway, but the road was different now, longer, stretched, like it was folding in on itself. Every step I took felt like I was running in place. My feet moved, my lungs burned, but I didn't get any farther from the van. And then the sound changed. It wasn't banging anymore. It was breathing. Deep, slow, inhuman breathing, echoing out from the van, following me, wrapping around me. That's when the lights came. Not headlights. Not from a car. Blue lights from the trees. They blinked in a rhythm, like a pulse, and when I turned toward them, I saw shapes, tall, slender figures, moving sideways through the forest, jerking in fast, stuttering bursts like bad film. They watched. No eyes, but they watched. I stumbled, falling hard onto the pavement, knees shredded by gravel, and looked up just in time to see the van's doors swing wide open. Inside was no longer the cargo. It was a room. A long, dark room lit by a single swinging bulb, and it led downward. Like a tunnel. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was the lights. Maybe it was the breathing. Maybe it was the voice I suddenly heard in my head, my father's voice, who died 5 years ago, saying, "It's time to come home." My body moved on its own, dragging me across the gravel, into the van, into that impossible hallway. The air was hot and sticky like old blood. My footsteps echoed even though the floor was soft. And down at the end of the corridor, there was a door. White. Perfect. With my name carved into it. Jack. That S, when it hit me, ID never told the company my first name. ID never signed anything with it. So who the hell wrote it? I turned to leave, but the hallway behind me had vanished. No walls. No van. Just endless dark. I opened the door. Inside was my childhood bedroom. Exactly as ID left it. Toys on the shelf. Posters on the wall. The smell of my mom's spaghetti in the air. I stepped in, shaking, tears in my eyes, and that S when the mirror on the far wall rippled like water. My reflection smiled, but I didn't. It stepped forward. Out of the glass. I backed away, heart seizing, but it grabbed my arm. Cold. Hard. It leaned in and whispered, "Thanks for the route." Then everything went black. I woke up on the side of the highway, just before sunrise, curled up in a ball, my uniform soaked in sweat. The van was gone. My car was gone. My phone was shattered beside me, screen flickering with static. I walked for miles before I found a gas station. The guy behind the counter looked at me like I'd been dug up from the ground. "You one of them Nightwatch boys?" he asked. I nodded slowly. He shook his head. "Thought they shut that whole route down 10 years ago. After the last guy disappeared." I tried to laugh, to make sense of it, but I couldn't. There were bruises on my arm, fingerprints that didn't match mine. And sometimes, when I pass by a mirror, my reflection still smiles. Even when I don't.